Hello, folks. Sorry for the lack of videos the last few weeks. It's been a little minute. As you can tell, I have moved locations. I had a lot going on in life recently, and so has Anthony. So we unfortunately weren't able to make our schedules connect for our final Emmy prediction video, but we did do Emmy predictions for the comedy and limited series categories a few weeks ago that are still pretty much about the same as what we would predict nowadays. So I'm gonna put comedy and limited right after this, because at the top of this video, I'm going to be giving you my updated drama series predictions, which is a video we did a while back. So stuff has changed there. So you'll get my updated drama predictions, and then we'll roll into the video with me and Anson. Let's start off. Nothing has changed much here. I feel like everyone has the same top seven. Whatever you have at number one, I feel like either the Pitt or Severance will win. One of those two. Those are your top two. White Lotus, obviously getting nominated. I think most people consider it its weakest season, so I don't think it is going to win. Same goes with The Last of Us. I, I loved the first season. I was not huge on the second season. I feel like that is a pretty common opinion. I didn't despise it, and there's also lots of just toxicity surrounding that, it seems. But most people, I honestly think most voters probably did not finish this season. It'll still get nominated because it's The Last of Us. It's a big prestige HBO show that lots of people still do watch, but not even coming close to contending for a win. Andor, one of the best shows of the year, guys. It's just so good. I think the nomination is the win, at least here in this category. I would love to see it win. It's that and The Pit are easily the two best here. I think I like Andor maybe a little more. It's very close. Andor, so topical, so just the best TV there is out there that I would love to see it win. But I think it being in the top five, which I do think it is, I do think it is a strong number five here. I could even jump it above both The Last of Us and maybe The White Lotus. I do think there's more passion for Andor than there is for those shows, but I think unfortunately I feel like passion favors you more in the Academy Awards than it does with the Emmys. The Emmys are less international; they're more even LA based than the Academy Awards. So I feel like just being seen is more important with the Emmys than it is with the Oscars. It's obviously important for both, but I feel like being seen and being advertised and campaigning is even more important when it comes to stuff like the Emmys. So I feel like that's why like The White Lotus and The Last of Us are still probably above it because they're more seen, they're more advertised, I would say, than Andor. Although Andor got a lot more buzz the second season. I think more people have jumped on the train, and it also has gotten I would say better marketing this season. So it's strong. Unfortunately, don't probably won't win, even though I'd probably vote for it. Soul Horses gotten for the first time last year, probably going to consistently get in if the quality remains the same, which it has thus far. But I do think, honestly, I think last year's drama series was less competitive than this year, so I do think it will underperform in some categories, which we'll get into in a second, compared to how it did last time. The Diplomat, I think, will overperform compared to how the first season did. It's on Netflix. It's Netflix's main push here, which always helps when you've got the Netflix money behind you. I would say it's this and one other show, which I mean, The Diplomat, I feel like is pretty safe. It'll get acting noms, it'll get series and all that. Let's talk about the Netflix show that I kicked out at number 8. I used to have Squid Game season 2 in there. The buzz just isn't there, guys. Like, I know it's the show is still doing great numbers viewership wise, but even I know the third season didn't come out during voting. The voting closed before the third season came out, but I feel like it has just been a slope down quality wise with the seasons. The first season was like a whole cultural moment. Like people were, it was at any corner you turned, people were talking about that show, and I just didn't feel that way about the second season or the third season. And this is for the second season, which is better than the third, but neither of them either buzz wise or quality wise are as good as the first season. So I don't know. Part of me, it is Netflix and it is extremely widely seen, and they loved the first one. Won multiple acting awards. It was easily number 2 in drama series that year. I don't know. I feel like I'm seeing Paradise being campaigned a lot more. I feel like I can see Paradise sneaking into multiple other categories. I struggled to see Squid Game getting in, and I honestly heard more buzz about Paradise in that episode. So I haven't watched Paradise, but more buzz about Paradise in episode 7 of Paradise. You saw multiple Paradise actors on the campaign trail, specifically Sterling K. Brown, who I do think has a lot of sway within this like TV Academy in particular. I think he is very beloved. I think it's seen. I think it's respected. I'm not feeling Squid Game. I don't even know what else there would be. I mean, Handmaid's Tale final season maybe, but once again, that show has kind of fallen off. I don't see the buzz being strong enough for this final season for it to suddenly get back in there. I feel like it's consistently the last few seasons just been the Elizabeth Moss show, which we can jump into right now. Let's move on to drama actress. Or I guess I have Kathy Bates winning. I don't understand. I mean, she just makes the most sense because I mean, Britt Lauer, I would love to see one for Severance. If Severance is like a series sweeper, then that's possible. But she didn't even get nominated for the first season. I just feel like when people talk about that show, unfortunately, I feel like people will talk about other performances before hers. And she's also, unfortunately, we talk about this with a lot of different actresses when it comes to awards shows. Um, she's not always the most likable character. There's half of her character that you don't like, and that seems to hurt actresses a lot more than it does actors. So I think she'll definitely be nominated, which she wasn't for the first season. It was insane. That was one of my big pushes that year that didn't happen. So I'll be happy to see her nominated, maybe win in a future season. But I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't fit. Neither does Bella Ramsey for The Last of Us, which I had early on when I thought the show was going to be at the same quality as the first season. Didn't pan out, and I think some people's complaints of this season center around Bella Ramsey. I think they're very great with what they're given. I just don't think the writing surrounding that character is very consistent, and the show is just not strong enough for them to win in this category. Nomination though, once again, Kerry Russell for The Diplomat, great in the show. It's not like it's a great performance, but it's not. I don't know. It doesn't give Emmy winning performance. I think Kerry Russell will have to get her long overdue Emmy elsewhere. Elizabeth Moss, like I said, always gets in for The Handmaid's Tale. This 5 feels pretty solid, honestly. I don't know what else you would throw in there. I guess maybe I would look out for Keira Knightley for Black Doves, another Netflix spy show. I mentioned Melanie Linsky for Yellow Jackets. It's just that show is as we're talking about multiple shows here, the quality is not as good as it was when they were originally nominated. Melanie Linsky is obviously doing the best with what she's given. Her character, speaking of unlikable, just like I don't know how anyone likes Shauna. I mean, you can understand Shauna, but like the stuff she does, it's hard to root for. And I don't know. I don't Melanie Linsky beloved, but I don't even know how many people are continuing to watch that show. And if they are, they probably hate Shauna. So this 5 feels pretty solid to me, honestly. And the winner, we'll talk about that down the line. I guess it's Kathy Bates. Nothing else just makes sense. So I guess it's Kathy Bates, which is I haven't watched the show, so I can't really say I love Kathy Bates. So it'll be interesting. It seems like this season of TV in Emmy Awards is very network TV is coming back strong, focused. So speaking of which, not quite network TV, but similar. Noah Wiley for The Pitt. I think he will win, rightfully so. I mean, the whole Pitt, everything surrounding that show is surrounding him. He's the lead character. He is, I think, the face of the show. He's behind the scenes and in front of the camera. He's campaigning as well. The whole narrative is just everything has culminated in I think just a perfect moment for him to win here, especially like the whole ER, like going from ER to this narrative. I feel like it's just too juicy to pass up on. Adam Scott is his only competition, I would say, honestly. If once again, I think whatever you have winning series, you should probably have winning here. But I do think there's a world where Severance wins series and Wiley still wins here. I don't think there's a world where Pitt wins series and Adam Scott wins here. So I feel like either that just points to the fact that I think Wiley is stronger than Scott in this race. And yeah, I mean Scott does some great stuff. He like switches back and forth between, especially that final episode, switching back and forth between the different versions is quite strong work. But I think there's nothing that can compete with that. Everything surrounding Noah Wiley right now. Sterling K. Brown, number 3 for Paradise. I just think he's very well liked. It's a good performance. He's been on the campaign trail. I have the show now in series, so it makes sense to me. I had to like make some switches up here because you'll see I'm hope dicting, some may say, for Andor. I'm going hard for it. So I had to make some room. I think I'm gonna keep Pedro Pascal in there for The Last of Us, even though he's in lead actor. He should have maybe gone supporting or although I don't know. I don't know what the best campaign strategy would have been for him because he couldn't have gone guest. He couldn't have gone guest. That's not allowed. He could miss out here. Either of these. I just wanted to make room for Diego Luna in Andor, who I think is that show. It's literally Andor, even though it's a great ensemble show. He is Andor. He's been campaigning. He was just hosting Jimmy Kimmel for like the last week. I think he's a very beloved actor, and I think he missed out in the first season. I feel like the second season is much stronger. But he just should come with it. It might not happen. The first season of Andor didn't get any acting nominations, but this season is stronger all around. It's quality-wise, buzz-wise. I think more people have seen it. I'm going with it. Consider it hope dicting. Consider it whatever you want to consider it. I'm taking that risk, because if not, then I'm just going with like the basic top 5. You replace Diego Luna with who's Gary Oldman, which is kind of risky to take out. I probably Pedro Pascal or Sterling K. Brown is probably the smarter one to take out, but I don't know, like Gary Oldman, not really been on the campaign trail. Slow Horses, I think, is going to underperform this season compared to last season, just because it's more competitive this season. And I don't know. I just had to pick someone to kick out, and I think The Last of Us is still stronger. And Pedro Pascal, who's having like a moment right now, that I couldn't. There's too much going in his favor, and I think he's considered his 2 episodes that he does show up in the best, or the 2 big episodes that he shows up in. He's in the first episode too, but episode 2 and episode I think 7 is what it is. The flashback episode are considered the 2 best episodes of the season. Like I said, he's having a big moment. He's not even campaigning for The Last of Us, but he's still everywhere with all of the movies he has coming out. That he's on the mind. I feel like he's still probably going to get in there. So maybe you kick out Sterling K. Brown instead of Gary Oldman, but I feel great about. I just think Sterling K. Brown is beloved, and I have that show and series now. That I don't know. I just chose Gary Oldman. It's probably the wrong choice. Probably should just maybe kick out Luna for Oldman, but I think Andor is stronger than Slow Horses. So who knows? You'll see continued hope dicting in the remaining categories for Andor, but let's start off in supporting actress, where I've got, I think, your top 3 White Lotus contenders. I think you've got Carrie Coon, who's probably going to win, but I don't feel great about. I don't know. It's probably going to happen, but I feel like Parker Posey is kind of like more of the Jennifer Coolidge of this season. She's had more of a moment surrounding her character, and everyone, like all the memes surrounding her accent. She's been on the campaign trail, I would say, more than Carrie Coon has been, but I don't know. It depends on the kind of performances they want, like the performances they've rewarded from the White Lotus, which is Jennifer Coolidge. That's the only one in terms of wins. Lean much more in the Parker Posey vein than the Carrie Coon vein in terms of their performances in that show. But Carrie Coon is like a beloved actress, especially like when it comes to TV. That and her final monologue was just so good. I'm leaning that way, but I think it'll probably be one of those 2. Amy Lou Wood is, I think, probably likely going to get in there. I could see her miss, honestly, but I mean, I feel like she was just like easily the most likable character and such a big part of the season that she'll probably get in there. I don't think she's winning competitive though. So the three White Lotus ladies, which is less than past seasons. Like I think last time it was 4 or 5. I think both of the first 2 seasons it was 4 or 5 nominees in this category. So a little less, which makes sense because I think this season is a little weaker than the last 2. Allison Janney for The Diplomat. She's Allison freaking Janney. I think she got at the SAG Awards, where they don't even do like supporting actress. They just do lead actress, and she somehow got nominated there for a show where she shows up in like 1/3 of the show. She shows up in like the last 2 episodes. She's loved. I mean, if anyone is beloved, I was just talking about it with Sterling K. Brown. Allison Janney is beloved by the TV Academy, like on a different level. So definitely nominated. Then I went with two Pitt ladies. I've got Taylor Dearden, who plays Mel, who is easily my favorite character on the show. I think she's a fan favorite. I think she's very likable. Catherine Lanasa probably makes more sense. If there's one Pitt actress, I would maybe have her ranked higher, at least above Dearden. Beloved actress. I think with like they're like actors who like are beloved, like an Allison Janney, and I think there are actors who like just like put in the work. They're not really like name talent, but like they've worked with so many different people, like Catherine Manassa, and they have like a moment like this. I think people really root for that moment, and I think she is kind of like the heart of the show. Nurse Dana is like, she just holds that whole place together, and she holds the whole show together in a way. So I feel like that's gonna happen. And then I went with Genevieve O'Reilly for Andor. But let's be honest, that's probably not gonna happen. But I mean, great speech in that. What episode was that? I think that was episode 10. Great speech, great threat. She has her whole own arc. I mean, the dancing moment is one of the best scenes of the entire show. She, like I said, she has her whole own arc the entire season. That I would love to see it happen. Should I probably like? I don't have Natasha Rothwell in here, which I think lots of people do have in there. I just feel like her storyline in The White Lotus was weaker than most other storylines. I feel like she didn't get a ton to do, especially compared to the first season, which they did nominate her for. There'll probably be another White Lotus actress here, so it probably makes sense for it to be Natasha Rothwell, or maybe even Leslie Bibb, who I do think could definitely happen. I think she surprised people with her performance here. She surprised me too. I think she was incredible. I would love to see her nominated, but I don't know. It could be one of the White Lotus actresses. It could be one of the Severance actors. It could be Ditchin Lockman or Patricia Arquette. Arquette, I feel like that would be solely based off of the fact that she's Patricia Arquette. She did not get much to do this season, and the one episode that was focused on her that she did get was, I think, widely considered the weakest episode of the season. So I don't know about that. And Deachin, I feel like that might be like a season 3 kind of thing. I feel like if Deachin gets in, that's like the point where Severance is winning series at that point. And I personally, as you saw, I have the Pitt winning, so I don't think it's going to be that strong. And Severance isn't a show that, at least in the first season, like ate up acting nominations, but Hope Dixon will continue in supporting actor. We'll get to him in a second down there at number 7. But I think Tramel Tillman, which we did do in our early predictions for this category, is going to win for Severance. I just look at the other options. Walton Goggins in The White Lotus. Yeah, I mean, he's good. He's on the campaign trail. But I don't know. That could just be the more logical pick. But he's not a very likable character. It's not like, in my opinion, it's not like it was like an incredible performance. I think it was kind of the kind of performance you would expect from Walton Goggins. And that's down more to the writing than it is his performance itself. But I don't know. The vibes just aren't there, especially for the season of White Lotus, because I think it's going to win one of the actually that will win supporting actress. I don't think this season is strong enough to, like, unlike other seasons, win multiple acting categories. I don't really think it's gonna be him. And then it's between the two Severance boys, and John Turturro just did not get as much to do this season as he did last season. He has a great episode in episode 4, but then he kind of doesn't have anything to do after that. So I don't think it's going to be him. Oh, and Tramel Tillman, it just continues to be, I think, like the surprise and the standout of this show. Like when people talk about this show, I feel like he is, honestly, even before Adam Scott, like the first thing people talk about, Mr. Milchek. Even like on the billboards around here in LA, the only Severance billboards that I saw 2 of them were with Mr. Milchek on them. So I feel like he is like a very, very beloved part of that show, and he surprises people. I feel like that's a big thing that helps people, especially when it comes to awards. He surprises people. He's just a Mission Impossible. Best part of the season as well, I would say, Tramel Tillman. He gets more to do. Milchek becomes, I think, even more of a character with more dimension. So I'm going with that because I don't think either of the I don't even remember their last name, the Isaacs and Schwarzenegger, that family. I don't think either of them will get in there. Isaac's good in the season. I just wish he got more to do. He's kind of just like stressed out the entire time. I don't think there was as much layering there, or as much variety there as I would have liked from an actor of Isaac's caliber. Schwarzenegger, speaking of surprise being in your favorite, that definitely helps him here. I think he surprised a lot of people with his performance here. And he kind of reminds me of past performances that have gotten in, like Jake Lacey for the first season or Theo James for the second season. The loser douchebag who, unlike those two, has a little more dimension, honestly, than those two characters did. And he gets, I think, honestly, more of that dimension to play and more complexity to play. So I think that even puts him above those two. So he'll get in there. Patrick Ball, there's, unlike supporting actress where there's so many supporting actresses you can pick from the pit, there's really only one for supporting actor. Even though I forget the actor's name who plays I forget the character's name now too. The twink nurse, like the one from Oklahoma, whatever his name is. I can't. It's been so long since I watched the bit. I missed the bit. God, that's kind of annoying me. But he's also great in the show. But I feel like Patrick Ball he has his own storyline. He disappears for a little bit, but I feel like it's a more showy performance. It could just, I think it's possible that there's just the pit isn't that strong where it gets also Patrick Ball in here. You could throw in, who I don't have in here, Sam Rockwell for the White Lotus. That's probably the more logical thing to do. That I might even end up doing that last minute. Sam Rockwell screams guest actor, and it's just the fact that he doesn't qualify for it that I'm like, I don't know. Just something about that, like, he has one great monologue and he doesn't do much for the rest of the show. And I know he's Sam Rockwell and all that, but like, I don't know. He'll probably get in there, but something about it just doesn't seem to me like it's enough. But who knows? Stellan Skarsgård for Andor. I mean, this I think is the best shot at Andor getting an acting nomination. Honestly, maybe even more so than Luna. Stellan Skarsgård is incredible in that show. He's gotten, I mean, in the first season, that monologue is incredible. He also has amazing stuff to do in the second season. That episode surrounding him and Clea, who, speaking of supporting actress, that actress should be in contention for that category. I forget her name. I think it's like Elizabeth Dulau. Incredible. my favorite character on that show after that episode. Just incredible stuff. But yeah, he has that. He has maybe he doesn't have a monologue this season on the same level as the first season, but he's just as good in this season. And he's also having a moment. Like he had the whole can moment surrounding sentimental value, where people were just raving about him and his performance, and he was getting early Oscar buzz, which he obviously talked about in the can videos. But I feel like he was having that moment during voting where people were also like, "Dang, Stellan Skarsgård is an actor who just." I feel like it was also being talked about with Can at the moment. Like he's an actor who we don't acknowledge as much as we should. No, no, no Oscar nominations. He's gotten Emmy nominations for stuff like Chernobyl. But I feel like that was kind of in the air during voting. Like, dang, Stellan Skarsgård, underrated actor that maybe if they were watching Andor at the same time, they're like, gotta throw him my love. So very plausible, I think, in my opinion. Might not happen. You might just kick out Ball and Skarsgård for like Rockwell and Jack Lowden for Slow Horses, which I don't have getting any acting nominations, which is a little bit of a risk. But I don't know. I don't know about. He's a lead character, anyways, Jack Lowden, so that helps him. But I just once again, I don't think Slow Horses. I feel like it did well last time because of the lack of competition. I don't think it's the kind of show that has that level of passion that when the competition is thicker, it can still eke it out with these kind of shows. So that's that. And then we can quickly talk about the guest categories. Guest actor, I've got Sean Hannity for The Pitt, Jeffrey Wright for The Last of Us, Scott Glenn for The White Lotus, Joe Pantoliano for The Last of Us, Ben Mendelsohn for Andor, and Mackenzie Austin for The Pitt. I will love to see Sean Hannity win for The Pitt. Caitlin Dever, probably going to win for The Last of Us, although we were just talking about unlikable characters and specifically female characters, so we'll see about that. I honestly saw more complaints about Ellie as a character than Abby as a character this season. So, and she's Caitlin Dever, and she kills it in the one episode that she does get. Literally, she does kill. But it'll probably be her. I would love to see Catherine O'Hara is amazing in that show too. I think she was like created just for the show. She doesn't have a ton to do. She has like one good moment with Pedro Pascal, and she also has a little bit to do in the flashback episode. But Catherine O'Hara just has a presence no matter what she does. Gwendoline Christie, speaking of presence, fun presence on Severance with her and the goats. So she'll probably get in there. Same with the other Severance actresses. Merritt Weaver. Everyone loves Merritt Weaver. She deserves more recognition and flowers all the time. And she has a great arc with Zach Cherry's character, who I should have mentioned as supporting actor too. That's definitely plausible. But we'll see. It depends on how strong Severance is, but I feel like it will get multiple guest acting nominations. Speaking of Jane Alexander in that one Patty Arquette episode. So now let's jump over to me and Anthony's predictions in the comedy and limited series categories. Comedy series, I just still think it's going to be Hacks. Honestly, I don't see the competition being strong enough from any of these other shows, and I feel like when you see this at the Emmys, once they give something the win once, it usually continues to win. If it will continue to win, it will continue to win after that first win. And once they don't give it a win, like once they stop giving it wins, they usually don't give it a win ever again. So I feel like right now Hacks is on their streak, and I feel like it's a strong enough comedy show to not just have won once and never again. So for that reason, they gave The Bear 2 wins. I don't think they're going to go back to it. So I think his biggest competition is probably The Studio, which is definitely an insider show for Hollywood. I just personally, I don't know if you've seen it. I personally don't think it's a very good show at all, in my opinion. I think I don't know. It's very situational. Like each episode is its own situation. I just feel the satire is not very insightful, and I find the characters overall to be quite annoying and unlikable, and they don't have any character development throughout the entire series. So it wasn't my favorite, but it has funny moments. It seems like lots of people love it, especially within the industry. So I think it's probably the strongest number 2. Only Murders in the Building, maybe for what is this? Its 5th season, I think. It's 4th season. Fourth season. It did good at the Winter Awards. It won SAG Ensemble. It won Best Actor. So it got some wins that it's never gotten before. So it's showing strength. But this just feels like the kind of show that I don't think we'll ever win. Same with Abbott, and then all the 6, 7, and 8 with Shrinking, What We Do in the Shadows, and Nobody Wants This. The nomination will be the win. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I pretty much agree with your state of the race. I agree that Hacks is in the number 1 position. I think that many people either feel that season 4 continued or surpassed the expertise of season 3. So I think that's always good. You want to have good vibes coming into your season, especially compared to The Bear, which I think a lot of people thought that season 3 was a step down from season 2.
Who
Um,
will they be voting on? That's what happened. That's what happens every year with the Bear. They'll be voting for wins, probably thinking about season 4. So if season 4 is great, that could give it a boost.
it could, it could. That'll be an interesting test if season 4 is looked upon more favorably, and then we'll finally really have a test of how they vote, or
Mhm.
they're going back and looking at specific episodes. Um, I agree that the studio has caught on, but I don't know if it's enough to make it the win because Hacks and Only Murder season 4 for taking place in the Hollywood, film
Yeah,
ecosystem. I think they're sharper shows, and I think they're a little bit more the sort of stories that we want to portray, that I think the industry wants to portray. I think right now the sort of musings of the misunderstood studios executive, I don't know if that's going to be a narrative that they really want to get behind, especially because
true.
it does still have a lot of that sort of Seth Rogen charm and wit, but also I think a sort of energy that some people are turned off by, as I think you are representative of. I
Yes.
enjoyed the show. I thought that, it wavered, but I did, the finale, for example, was one of the episodes
Great
I
guest stars throughout too.
great guest stars. It definitely felt different from other comedies. So it has a unique voice. But yeah, I do think that it's going to be hard for it to challenge Hacks, which has just become this behemoth, deservedly so. It's really built up
Mhm.
its audience, and it's just really sharp, really great character led comedy.
And they're both commentaries, especially Hacks this season, because they're out of Vegas, they're in Hollywood. They're both commentaries on the industry. I just think Hacks is so much more sharp and insightful than what the studio is doing. I think it's much smarter commentary. So I feel pretty good about that. Honestly, I can't think um, of anything usurping it at this point. Even though I do think season 3 of Hacks was the strongest season. I don't think 4 is quite as strong, and I do think they should have ended season 4 on the ninth episode. I think the 10th episode was a weird note to end it on, but I don't think that will hurt it in the end. I think it'll still remain number one. Jean Smart Hacks are this decade's Julia Louis Dreyfus for Veep. She will just continue to win every time the show is eligible and she is eligible. And yeah, I mean, looking at the other nominees, Quinta Brunson won in her Jean Smart's year off, so I'm happy she got her Emmy. Iowa Dabiri is always great on The Bear, although this past season I would say less of a lead role than she was in season 2, but she was still very good as always. Kristen Bell, great. Nobody wants this. This will be her first nomination, which is crazy. And then Selena Gomez, who finally got in last season for Only Murders in the Building. She gave the big speech at the SAG Awards for SAG Ensemble. She was also just in a whole award season last year with Amelia Perez. She's the one I'm least confident. I could see it being someone else, but like I said, like the other alternatives, Natasha Lyonne, as just I don't think as many people have watched Poker Face. I just look at the alternatives and I think I like going with the Emmys because when you see with these shows in general, the Emmys go with the shows that they've watched. We see every year the White Lotus comes out, everyone has seen it, so they'll just go down the ballot with White Lotus actors because that's a show they've seen. They don't have time, unlike like a lot of people, to watch all of the shows that are eligible. So if it's something they've seen, it's much higher on the list, and I think something that less people have seen. So I would say Selena Gomez is my 5, but I'm least confident in that.
Yeah. I feel very confident in the top 4 as you are. And Selena does make sense. I would just throw out because I think she's buoyed by also her supporting turn in the studio that Catherine
Mhm.
Hahn and Agatha all along could surprise, and it could be throwing a bone to that show, which I do think was well regarded, and they might want to see really the woman who willed it into existence. I know she doesn't really have much to do with the creative side, but I do think people look at it as her show. She's the captain of that ship. The show only exists because of how dynamic she was in WandaVision, and she was probably the runner-up that year
Mhm.
to win supporting actress in a limited series for WandaVision. So there is love for that character as well. She's been nominated before.
Yeah.
So I would that wouldn't be a shock to me if she was able to get in because I do also think Selena Gomez. It's tough to fight like it's hard when you're being the straight woman to Steve Martin and Martin Short, like, and especially all of the guest stars this year.
Yeah.
She is the most sedate performer. It's a necessary role in that ensemble, but I also think it's hard to like find what's the Selena Gomez moment where, like, I mean, we can list the moments of all these other actors for the rest of this hour.
Yeah.
um so it's tough. I might go Catherine Hahn because I do think there's a lot of, especially
Yeah.
this past
I
year. I
could see
feel like
that.
the way that like the studio cast talks about her, there just seems to be like we're finally catching up to how great
She's been
Catherine
campaigning too.
as a
She was
performer.
in all of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I do wonder though if Disney Plus would have put more behind her before they realized how strong Andor was. That might be a wrinkle in this. but still, I think it's possible, and I do think she's helped because she was in 2 of the top, most talked about shows.
Mm. Comedy actor. This is another tricky one with a winner. I feel like I failed pretty good about this 5. Martin Short won the SAG Award this past Winter Awards season for lead actor in a comedy. I don't think that they're going to do Jeremy Allen White again. I don't think that they're going to do Seth Rogen. I don't think they're going to do Jason Segel and Steve Martin. He's missed before when Martin Short has gotten in, so I think he could potentially miss for someone like Adam Brody. I do think that's your clear top 6 here, but there's only 5 spots, so I was between the two of them. I just feel like Steve Martin and Only Murders in the Building are stronger than both Adam Brody and Nobody Wants This overall, so I went with him. But I could easily see him miss for Adam Brody. I could also see Segel miss, but I don't feel. I feel like he got in even when the show missed for comedy series. So I feel like if it's in a comedy series now, he'll probably
I
get
think
in.
he's like grandfathered in from
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother. And he's a major force behind the show. I actually do agree. Well, I disagree with you. I agree with the
Okay.
sentiment that you shared, which is that Adam Brody could sneak in. I think
Hmm.
it's a lot of love, and I could almost see a world where the harder thing for him is getting the nomination, and then there is a path for him to win as a way to give
I don't.
Nobody Wants This something. Because I
I
do
don't
think
know.
that the thing that hurts Martin Short is that it's Martin Short. We know what he's capable of. Seth Rogen, somewhat similarly, but I also think at least that's a season 1, and so it's a
I don't
debut
know how
performance.
respected as an actor he is either. I think people are going to look at his role on that show as much more behind the scenes than the
Yeah,
face of the show.
I mean, I think he got some cred doing The Fablemans,
Hmm.
helping Mr.
Yeah.
Spielberg tell his family story. But I agree that again, that's why I think that Adam Brody, who is, I think, one of the better straight men. That's a funny way to say it. But
Yeah.
like as far as like taking like being the grounded person in the comedic scenario and actually getting a lot of punchlines, like
Hmm.
I find him like really just engaging in that show. And I do think that he also kind of comes in with some sort of television royalty sort of his card has been punched a couple times when it comes to past television work. So I mean, again, I think that the challenge will be to get into the category, but I have him getting in there because I do think it's becoming more clear that Martin Short is kind of the engine of Only Murders in the Building.
Hmm.
Just and also just seeing how the guest stars interact with the ensemble, they tend to run through Martin Short more. It's weird. I feel like the show started as an ensemble piece, but now it's slowly becoming like he is like the
It's
main
leaning his way.
character. It's which is usually it's the opposite. Usually you have like your main character like season 1, season 2. Like, Monica was the main character of the first episode of Friends, and then, it slowly became about all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at like, the episode which is so good from this season where Meryl Streep and Melissa McCarthy are fighting over Martin Short. It's hysterical.
Hmm.
But so I do think though that Seth Rogen could win if there is enough sentiment for the studio and they want to give it something, and
Hmm.
he is representative of the whole endeavor. But I wonder whether people feel like, it's the question of, is he acting? I mean, of course he's acting, but I don't think it's it's not anything surprising from him. I think it's surprising that he wanted to do this, and the surprising elements are behind the camera when it comes to him. But I don't think he's testing himself in any way that I think the rest of these performers, even Steve Martin to a degree, are really like, doing different things with their comedy.
And Jeremy Allen White is still the reigning champ in this category, even though last season of The Bear did not do amazing at the Emmys. So maybe if he's amazing in season 4, he could just pull it off again. But I
Yeah.
don't know. He does seem like he kind of stands alone outside of the show, regardless of performance. But I don't know. I just feel like they're not going to go
I think
there
everybody's
again.
so moved on to Bruce
Yeah,
Springsteen that we're
yeah,
like,
that too.
you know, we're good. We got you covered.
Yeah, yeah. I just feel like because Only Murders in the Building did so good at the Winter Awards, I feel like it's going to be stronger this season than it has in past seasons. I don't feel like I can like kick off Steve Martin and Selena Gomez and all that, and I feel like that would be a weaker performance than any other year. So I feel like I should
Yeah,
keep
but
them in there.
remember context because I mean it did stronger because a lot of these shows weren't in contention.
Hmm.
If it makes sense that like you could see a world where Seth Rogen took Steve Martin's spot theoretically because
Yeah.
Seth Rogen wasn't around for the Winter Awards. I do think that yes, it's something to note that they finally did get like a major award, but also, it's not like they've dramatically changed their opinion of the show. And it's also,
No.
I don't
Yeah.
think season 4 was looked upon as that much of an improvement from past seasons. I
Yeah.
think it was probably my favorite season, but it doesn't, it's not like, whoa, this show completely like raised it to an 11. No, it's a good show and it continues to be a good show. So I think that's also going to hurt it because I think I'm trying to think of a time when like a comedy show like really like took their time and then it's like, oh yeah, this gem that we've been ignoring. Like we always
Yeah.
think they're like Better Call Saul. Finally, nope. It just they just don't do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. After a certain amount of time, the just like I don't think it'll happen for Abbott either. After a certain amount of time, I don't think they're gonna go for you win wise. Nomination wise, they will, but win wise, no. Moving on to hopefully, finally, Hannah Einbinder winning an Emmy for Hacks. I mean, it has to happen at this point. You would think last year when Hacks surprised in comedy series and it got writing and it got lead actress that Hannah Einbinder would have came along, but no, Liza Colon-Zayas won for The Bear. I think that's once again a case
winning
of
for the episode she is nominated for now.
first. Yes, that's a case of like could happen
Which is
this
what
year.
worries me. I'm like,
Hmm.
we actually going to vote on the award that she kind of won for last year.
She won
But
for season 3, yeah, but it depends on what she has in season 4. I do think she's a very respected actress. I mean, she's good. She's been around for a while. She's been on the Broadway scene. She's been acting for a minute, so I think there's a lot of respect for her. I mean, everyone else, Ralph.
deservedly so. I don't want to come off as saying she's
Oh
undeserving.
yeah,
It's just that I worry because like it's just again how they vote, what they're voting on. Do they actually watch the episodes that are submitted? You know, it's all those sort of things. But I
hmm
agree. It's about time. It's come on, like this. It is a two-hander, and so far the Emmys
she's
have
a lead.
only acknowledged one hand. You know,
Hmm.
what's the sound of one hand clapping? Apparently, it's Gene Smart winning another
Yeah,
Emmy because
yeah,
it's ridiculous because she is so good and she's such an anchor. And I think especially in this sort of environment, to see a younger actor, a newcomer, be the person lifting the veteran. Like usually it's the other
yeah,
way around, but she allows Gene Smart to be as brilliant as she is and win all these Emmys. Like it's about time, especially this season. I do think this is her strongest season. I think that she was sharp and funny as ever. Her blowout scene over the lunch that her
hmm
writers paid for was hysterical. She nailed her dramatic beats when she needed, and I also think it was a daring season for her because I think this has got to be the most mainstream depiction of polyamory that we've seen yet, and she just
yeah.
totally took that with confidence and found the jokes in a new space of comedy. So yeah, I think just this was the most interesting performance this year. And I think it should certainly win, especially if Hax is winning everywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. I hope they come around to her this time. I hope it's not. I forget the actress's name from Veep, who just never won. But I
Anna
don't.
Klumsky.
Yes, yeah. She was
But
always
the thing with
nominated, but she
Anna
never won.
Klumsky is that
She was
the
not a lead as
she wasn't a
Hannah.
lead, and her screen time started to depreciate as the season went on. As the
Hmm.
seasons went on, I agree. She was brilliant, and she should have won. I mean, listen, we can all there's always those actors like the fact that Emilia Clarke and Lena Headey never won for Game of Thrones.
Lena Headey should have
It's it's
swept.
it's it's crazy. But I just think it's different because again, this isn't an ensemble show. With all due respect to Meg Stalter and Paul W. Downs, it is a two-hander. Every
It is.
poster since season 2 has the two of them on it because they realize this is their show. It is,
Hmm.
I mean, there's a reason why there's so much fan fiction about the two of them having a lesbian love affair
Yep.
because they are the show. You can't separate them. And it's about damn time Hannah Einbinder got some credit.
And I'd argue honestly, Ava is more of a lead than Deborah in the show. I think it's close, but one of them's like the character the audiences like connect to more. I think it is Ava.
She's the
So
Joe Gillis, and Gene Smart is the Norma Desmond. Yeah, I could
exactly.
exactly.
So yeah, I feel pretty decent about her win. Fingers crossed. But yeah, we mentioned Liza Colon-Zayas, Cheryl Lee Ralph. I think continued to get in for Abbott. She's very respected. Jessica Williams will get in for Shrinking. She got in last time. I think she'll get in again. Janelle Williams, I think, or Janelle James for Abbott Elementary. Always good. Always great as a Principal Ava. And then Catherine O'Hara, I think, will probably be the supporting actress pick for the studio. I think she's just a comedy legend. I mean, even last year when she presented the Emmy to Hacks, she was like one of the best presenters on that show. And speaking of Hacks, I do think honestly, Meg Stalter is just hilarious on that show. In my opinion, is the comedic standout. Her and Paul W. Downs together anytime they're on screen. I think it's just the funniest the show gets. So I'm hoping, this is kind of a hope diction, that she can steal that final spot, but I don't feel super confident about it. But when I look at the other options, I mean, I could go with Catherine Hahn for the studio. I could go with other shows that I don't think are going to be as strong as Hacks, which I do think is going to win comedy series. So I'm going to go with the show that I think is the strongest for that final spot, but who knows?
Yeah,
Any differences?
No, I think you make. I mean, a lot of these lists are people who have performed in the past when it comes to nominations and wins.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it makes sense to have that top three what it is because we both think Hannah's going to win, and the other two are previous winners in this category.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Catherine O'Hara. I mean, she is just beloved, and I think a comedy icon. I look at Beetlejuice, and I'm like, this is one of the great comedic performances of all time, and the fact that it is not talked about like that is criminal. So
Yeah.
yeah, the fact that she gets in, I also think because the rest of the show, and this is what I think you allude to as far as not liking it, it feels very
She's the only
sophomoric,
likable
little
character.
aggressive. There's a different just attitude to her persona in that show
Yes.
that does a lot. I think that's her and Bryan Cranston are some of the best parts of that show, and Catherine Hahn to a degree, but Catherine Hahn is playing that
She has a
aggressive
smaller role than I thought too. She
and
wasn't
this
in it as much.
yeah, exactly. And listen, she could surprise because let's say it's the opposite of what I'm thinking, where she's in two great shows, and instead of awarding her for with a nomination for Agatha, they put her here. It also could speak to how strong the studio is, and that it really did strike a chord with the industry. But yeah, I just think that the only episode I could see them submitting for her is casting, where they're casting the Kool-Aid movie. Um,
Mhm.
and even then, like it's not like she's a great supporting performance, but I think these other performances, Hannah's a lead. You know, Liza gets a whole episode dedicated to herself. You know, it's hard competition because I think
Yeah.
it's because Catherine is truly a supporting performance. The camera always focuses on them a lot of the times that they're on screen. So
Yeah. Yeah. The studio Catherine will be O'Hara, not Hahn. Um, Moving along to a race, I just don't know who's going to win. I'm sticking with Eben Moss-Bachrach in supporting actor for The Bear because I remember for Harrison Ford in season 1 of Shrinking, we all during our early predictions were like, "Well, he's going to win. He's going to win off his Harrison Ford." It wasn't even nominated. He does
it's
have
so
much.
strange. I'm
It
sure I
was weird.
still,
The other actors were all nominated, but he wasn't. It was
I
really
guess.
weird. But yeah, I'm not going to commit to that yet, even though I do think it's very plausible that he does win because he does have more to do in the second season. He's great in the show, and I think more people have seen the show now at this point because I think it's going to get into comedy series. So it's very plausible. I'm just not going to commit to that yet because I don't want
He
to do
should
it
win
twice.
for that bit with Jessica Williams at the SAG Awards when he started eating
Yes,
behind her.
exactly.
Like, I don't know. Because I feel like the same argument we've been making for all the Bear actors, which is that their time in the sun has happened.
Hmm.
That's not a phrase, but you know, it's close to a phrase.
Close,
Um,
similar.
you know, and so I think Harrison Ford is the flashiest name on this list, and I think he does great work in Shrinking, and the show is gaining momentum. At least we think it is. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think that he will stick out, and I do think that there's nothing really distracting happening like in his movie career right now. So he can fully focus on Shrinking, and people can fully focus on that. I feel like, you know, before we were thinking, oh, this is going to happen with Indiana Jones, and then Indiana Jones didn't do well. That might have put a stink on him, which
Hmm.
now Captain America 4 is long gone at
Yeah,
this point. Disney needs to stop investing in Harrison Ford's film career because it's hurting his
they
chance
do.
to win an Emmy. No,
Hmm.
not really, but still, I think that he's coming in with now more positive. And Harrison Ford might be an underdog now because he didn't get into season 1, which is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
crazy. One of the biggest movie stars. And I really just see it's a struggle for me to see who else could challenge him. Eben
That's
Moss-Bachrach
the thing.
could,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I
This past season, I don't think he had nearly as much to do as in season 2, I
yeah.
feel
I
like.
mean, the episode where the second episode where they're all yelling at each other after the opening, like it's great acting. I don't know if it's great
Yeah.
comedic acting, but it's great
Yeah.
acting. And then
He's
I
the
would,
closest to comedy, though. I would say out of the main 3, he's the most
yeah,
comedic
and then
performance.
I would put Ike Barinholtz a little higher because I do think that
Yeah,
he
that's
just
fair.
takes episodes dedicated to himself. The Golden Globes bit was very funny with him.
Mhm.
Within the show, not at the actual Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Um, And so I could see a world where, again, looking for places to honor different shows. This is where they honor the studio, but I don't know. It's hard for me to think that out of everybody that could be acknowledged for the studio, Ike Barinholtz is going to be the recipient. He feels like the sort of thing that
Yeah.
like he wins with Seth Rogen or with Catherine O'Hara. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I think Tyler James Williams will continue to be nominated. I don't know if he'll ever win for that show. It's a
he
more
won a
subdued
Globe.
performance.
You know,
He did win a Globe. Yeah. He's done good. He's just out of all the performances on that show, he is the straight man on that show. So I don't know if that would ever happen. Paul W. Downs is always great in Hacks. Um, I also just don't know if that's the kind of role or performance that's ever going to win, because there are other aspects of that show that get honored first, and he's even been honored behind the scenes already. Michael Urie is great in Shrinking. I think the nomination will be the win for him. You already mentioned Ike Barinholtz. And the seventh spot, I just went with Coleman Domingo for 4 seasons, because he's Coleman Domingo. That show did decent on Netflix. He's good in it. And I don't want to go with an SNL actor. I always doubt putting SNL actors in here, so I'm going with Coleman. But yeah.
uh, there is such love for Coleman, even in movies that nobody has seen. So
Exactly.
I think that he could very well sneak in.
Yeah. Comedy. Guest actress. These are fun. Julianne Nicholson, deservedly so, should be winning for Hacks. She's incredible on that show. And yeah, then you've got Cynthia Erivo. Her episode of Poker Face is amazing, where she's like playing like 5 different people all at once. Amazing stuff. Jamie Lee Curtis, as she had her whole Ice Chips episode on The Bear. They love Maya Rudolph for SNL. Zoe Kravitz is like that's some of the funniest and just best work I think I've ever seen her do on the studio in those final few episodes. Then Melissa McCarthy on Only Murders in Building. She was one of the highlights of this season. So
Mhm.
very good performances, but I think Nicholson will get it deservedly so as the dancing mom TikTok.
It's just Dance Mom. It's not the Dancing Mom.
I'm sorry. Drop the. It's
Come on,
simpler.
it's her trademark. No, I'm kidding.
Mhm.
Um, I agree with 5 out of these 6.
Okay.
You wanna guess which one I don't
Do you
have?
have? I'm trying to think. Do you? Well, you have Caitlin Olsen, I would guess, as the other person in
I
here.
don't. In my heart of
Oh.
hearts, she should. I thought her episode this season was
Oh.
so funny. I mean, Caitlin Olsen is just one of the most underrated people
Yeah.
working today. Like,
Guest actor, I think Bryan Cranston will probably win for the studio. This is hilarious stuff from him, and I just don't see the competition. John Bernthal, I don't think will win for The Bear again. I don't think he had as much to do on season 3 than he had in season 2, obviously, with that whole episode at the dinner table. Martin Scorsese, hilarious in the first episode of the studio. It's fun seeing so many directors in here. I mean, Ron Howard was obviously previously an actor before a director, but he's also very funny in his episode. Christopher McDonald is consistently good in Hacks, even though he had a smaller role this season. I think he'll probably still get in. Then Giancarlo Esposito, Poker Face, always does well in these guest categories, are decent. It always usually seems to pop in. I think he's the standout of the actors of the eligible episodes. So that's my 6.
yeah, I would have had Ron Howard higher because I think just how he dispels with his good guy persona is just so fun and exhilarating, especially that big monologue at the end of his episode. It was just so much fun. And I mean, for somebody who's been around since the Music Man, and yet Bryan Cranston then comes in with that 2-parter finale and just whew, he reminds you that before he was Walter White, and he was the king of drama, he was the king of comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And which is funny, speaking of Martin Scorsese.
Scorsese. Yeah.
But I mean, it was one of the best inebriated performances ever put to film.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think he will very likely win that category. And yeah, I think it's cool to see Martin Scorsese in here.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
I wish
I guess
that these showed these categories during the show, but it was
yeah,
a separate ceremony.
I guess the other, just going back a category, I do think Sarah Polley has a chance to get into guest actress, maybe in place of both SNL performers. Or honestly, Jamie Lee Curtis. As much as I thought that she gave a beautiful performance in her episode of The Bear, they could feel like, all right, we've been there, we did that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think Sarah Polley, especially because she was an actor, so I think she has a little bit more cred than like Martin Scorsese. She's more in the Ron Howard camp of like actor turned directors who are getting a chance to do some acting again. And some people might gravitate because it's like, yay, we get to see the side of you that we don't get to see anymore.
To it. Limited series. Adolescence. We have winning. Only 5 spots, unlike the other categories. The Penguin is the clear number 2 here, I think, obviously. And the other three spots, I'm not confident in any of them, to be honest. I'd actually probably, as you see on the graphic on the right, have Monsters in third instead of Dying for Sex. I think Dying for Sex I would had more high expectations for. I mean, just in terms of buzz, it's a good show. But I didn't hear as much about it for like an FX show starring Michelle Williams that I thought I was going to. And Monsters was a pretty big hit on Netflix. Lots of talk about it when it came out. They liked the last Monster season. They like Ryan Murphy a lot of the times. It had a whole moment, so I feel pretty good about that as well. Dying for Sex, I think will still probably get in there just because it's an FX show with Michelle Williams and the options are limited. Then Disclaimer, kind of a disappointing show for me, in my opinion, but it is Apple
I don't think
TV.
it's helped by the finale. I think the finale
Yeah,
turned some people off.
for
Um,
sure.
I agree with you on the top three. I think that top three is pretty locked in.
Hmm.
The only show that you don't have on your 1 through 8 that I would consider because I think it hit at the end and it caught some attention. And with limited series, catching some attention is sometimes all you need. Is
Yeah,
Sirens. Um,
yeah.
but I'd wonder how high it could climb.
I
Yeah,
just think
maybe
that's a
there's
little campy. I just wonder how serious they take it.
well, you're gonna say that something is too campy to get in when you have a Ryan Murphy show in here?
Yeah, but that's like serious stuff.
I guess. But yeah, listen, I really enjoyed Sirens, but I also think it's the type of show. I think because it is so. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah. I
Okay.
enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was like
Because it
any.
goes in such a different direction, especially with the Julianne Moore character, than you're expecting the show to be. That I could see some people
Yeah.
being like, "Well, what was that all about?" To me, I loved where they got, and I was really impressed with how
Hmm.
I didn't know the story they were telling until the final 10 minutes. But I could see some people maybe losing interest. I also think just the idea that it was 5 episodes, like whether there's something to how long a story is told, how long the characters, like Adolescence is just like this punch of a gut, 4 episodes, really intense, and then you
Yeah.
have these longer, seasons of television where Sirens is like this little, gem in the middle, where it only has
Hmm.
5 episodes. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So
I also think releasing what I find with the Emmys recently is releasing earlier usually helps more than releasing later. I think when you release in the like final few weeks of May, people usually honestly don't have time to get around to that in time for voting. Whereas if you release early in the year, there's a lot more time for them to to build buzz and for you to
yeah,
be
yeah, I
watched.
think
So
the
I do think that
punditry.
hurts it.
As soon as there was a show that could feasibly make it on, the punditry anoints it, and then it's very hard to knock it off.
Hmm.
I think that's what you saw with Disclaimer, for example. But listen, Disclaimer also has Kate Blanchett, Kevin Kline, and Alfonso Cuarón, and this being the
Yeah.
first thing that Alfonso Cuarón since winning his historic 3 Oscars for Roma, like that is enough to get it in, and it's coming from Apple TV. So it's a different streamer. We have two Netflix on here, one HBO Max, and then FX, Hulu.
Hmm.
So I think that also helps. So yeah, I think I agree with this 5. I think this is a very solid, very expected 5, and Adolescence will certainly win.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I think it was the biggest like TV moment of the entire year. It's Netflix's, I think, number two English language show of all time, which is insane. It's past Stranger Things season four. I think it's just behind Wednesday. So insane for that kind of show to
Which
reach
is
those kind of
it's
heights.
crazy to think that more people have watched Adolescence than Stranger Things, right? Because Stranger
People
Things season
want good
4
drama.
is the highest watched season of that show,
It is, yeah.
and that's just. But also, they do it by hours, right? Like like hours viewed
Like
or something,
minutes, I think. Yeah.
or minutes. Like Stranger Things, the minutes of that show were much longer. So like it's a question of like they had 2.5 hour episodes. So I
Yeah.
wonder
Who
how
they always change those numbers to whatever they
whatever
want
it
it to
is,
be.
Adolescence
Yeah.
is a huge hit, and I also
Hmm.
think it does the thing that I kind of feel all art should do in theory, which is actually set out to make the world a better place, like try to influence the world. And I do think the conversations that were coming up around adolescence are incredibly beneficial to the culture that we exist in today, and any culture really.
Hmm.
So I really think that this is going to be looked upon um, as a great feat of storytelling, artistic storytelling. And I hope if they do continue it, they don't f it up.
Yeah, anthology, just completely different scenario with a different kid, I think is what you have to do in that situation. But yeah, and they will, I'm sure, just because it did so great number wise. But yeah, it's just one of the best shows of the year. It's very deserving. It's some of the best acting of the entire year, regardless of medium. So yeah, I'm very excited to see it do very well at the Emmys because it's just very, very good. I do quick just because I don't feel great about Disclaimer, I do want to talk about these other options just because Disclaimer, Apple TV has also missed this category before. Like we expected Blackbird to get in here and it didn't. Defending Jacob did not get in. I think they got their first nomination here last year with Lessons in Chemistry. So their options this year are Disclaimer, Dope Thief, or Presumed Innocent. Dope Thief is not going to happen, I don't think. Presumed Innocent is one I'm really questioning because that was kind of like a TV moment last summer. I feel like that's one of their bigger hit shows that lots of people watched. Kind of like Disclaimer, the ending was up in the air. I think a little bit of a mixed bag for people. But I just look at the potential acting nominations. I just think it was better received overall than Disclaimer and also more viewed. So I'm like thinking maybe I should put that in instead. Say Nothing, not very viewed, but like that's an FX show with a level of prestige. It's a great show that I hope it gets nominated, but I just don't think it's well seen enough. And Black Mirror is also a tricky one just because that's only recently eligible in limited series. It used to be in TV movie. So I don't know how they view. I think it's hard for any sort of anthology show to do well in an awards show just because it's very specific to specific episodes rather than a continued story. So if I were to put something against Disclaimer, I'd probably actually do Presumed Innocent. But right now I'm going to stick with the Crone Blanchett factor, I think.
Agreed.
Let's move on to our non-adolescence category, where I hope Kristen Milotti is going to win for the Penguin. She's incredible. I think she will at this point. Michelle Williams, I think, looked like her biggest competition. Michelle Williams has done well in her FX shows in limited series before. But I feel like this one,
Fosse Verdon, of course.
yes. I feel like this one, like I said before, did not get as much hype or buzz or viewership as I thought it might going into it airing. So, but she's once again Michelle Williams. She's playing a woman who is dying of cancer, and she wants to completely like change her life. She's great in it. She's funny and she's dramatic. So it's very possible. I just feel like Kristen Milotti is so good in the Penguin, and she's overdue for this kind of recognition. I think the Penguin is a stronger show overall. That I feel like that's gonna happen. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think for
Okay.
sure. I think she was just a bolt of lightning in that show. And I think because she is the thing that's unique to the show and not a carryover from the Matt Reeves movie, I think that also gives her a little bit more gravitas as far as being taken seriously in the role. I
Hmm.
do think that could ultimately hurt Colin Farrell because it's like he's doing what he did great before, where this is just a more unique element to the show.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think the other contenders are all likely nominees. I just don't see enough momentum to get them to the number one position. The one that I'll just mention that I don't think you have is the idea that Renee Zellweger came back
Hmm.
to Bridget Jones. That has a little bit more cachet to it that I think people are expecting. And it's also a great performance. If you watch the movie, she's doing some of her best work in her recent career in that movie. And
Hmm.
how she matured Bridget, I think to me was the most compelling part. It's the best Bridget sequel by far. And so I could see that getting in because I mean, award shows love them some Renee Zellweger.
They
So
do, but this show doesn't love awarding any performances in TV movies, which is why I'm hesitant to put her in there. I feel like there are lots of TV movie performances people think have a shot, and then they don't end up getting in there. I
I
think they're
struggle to
just
think of a TV movie though that has as much like cachet as Bridget Jones 4. It's a
Mhm.
unique vehicle here where a lot of times the TV movies are like, Sundance movies that they decided to throw to HBO or,
Yeah.
it's like usually we're not seeing sequels to popular franchises in this
No, that's fair.
category. And so I forget. I don't think it was nominated. I'm sure she was definitely nominated for a Golden Globe, but I don't know if this something's telling me the script was nominated for like an Oscar, but I don't think so.
Well, you look that up. Kate Blanchett, I think, is just clearly going to get in for Disclaimer, even regardless of how you feel about the show. She's Kate Blanchett. Ellen Pompeo, I think there's a lot of respect for her moving on from Grey's Anatomy and doing something a little different for Good American Family. And then Ari Grainer is also great in Monsters. And once again, that's just a factor of I think Monsters is going to be one of the most seen shows on here compared to the other people in contention. That I think she'll probably just get in there. Sarah Paulson just recently posted an Instagram post like praising her. I think there's a lot of respect for her and her performance. So I think that's probably going to happen, but I'm least confident in that. It could be Zellweger, like you mentioned, for sure.
Who was nominated for Best Actress for the first film. So she got in for, at
Hmm.
um, eons ago. But so it's just hard for me to imagine that an Academy Award nominated role, and it's not like this
That's
isn't
fair.
like the idea that she want to get into TV movie limited series
Who
actress.
should I kick out then, Pompeo or Grainer? Maybe Pompeo.
Yeah, I mean, I Pompeo's the more well known name, but Grainer's in the more popular show.
Hmm.
Um, I think I would probably take out Grainer. I do think
Okay.
the names help, especially in these sort of categories, because I'm sure the people voting have not seen all of these things.
No, no,
So
that's true.
it's just the
And it seems like limited series more than even other categories, like it goes for names. Um,
yeah.
so
It's like
definitely
we're
possible.
we're giving you a credit for taking this lateral move in your career to do a
Yeah,
limited series.
yeah, for sure. So that's fun. Moving back on to our adolescence categories. But I don't think it's going to win here. I think Colin Farrell will win for the Penguin. I think I just feel like Stephen Graham is going to be honored behind the camera for his contributions as like a writer and a producer and all that stuff rather than an actor. Um, I just feel like Colin Farrell, what he does on that show is just like such actory show off stuff with all the makeup, the accent. It's just incredible work. It's much better than anything he did in the movie. It's one of his better performances, I would say. And he did amazing like last year when it's weird with the TV when who like competes at what awards during the winter awards last year where Baby Reindeer was still eligible and the Penguin was also eligible. Obviously, Baby Reindeer not eligible, but Baby Reindeer won limited series at a lot of those shows, but it did not win act. He did not win actor against Colin Farrell for the Penguin. So I think it's going to be similar here, even though he continued to win for series. Richard Gadd, I think Stephen Graham will win for series, but Colin Farrell will win for actor still here, is what I would say.
And I also think it's as much as I really admire Stephen Graham, and I think he's just done, I mean, decades worth of great work. It's hard for me to imagine, especially because I think there has been enough talk that he is one of the people behind the show and therefore will win when it wins Best Limited Series. He's
Hmm.
the third most talked about performance of that show. Like, it's hard for me to imagine that, like,
I'd say second, but yeah,
I don't know. I think Erin Doherty,
she's
people will.
great, but
I
she's
think
only got
people,
one.
the thing that people talk about when it comes to Adolescence is episode 3, and they
Hmm.
talk about the two of them. And
Yeah,
so it's hard for me then to just imagine a world where like Colin Farrell is the Penguin and he's gonna miss out for Stephen Graham. I also because I would imagine they're submitting. I mean, I imagine most people are gonna watch the whole show, but I imagine the
yeah,
episode like that really people are gonna get behind for Stephen Graham is episode 4,
hmm
which just tonally, because it's the ending, what is revealed in that episode, it's really tough. And at least episode 3, there's a little bit more of a dynamic electricity because it's that tete-a-tete between the two of them.
yeah,
Um, so I wonder if Stephen Graham, because of what his role because let's put it this way, I think there are people who the struggling nature of the show is not necessarily watching Owen Cooper, it's watching Stephen Graham. It's the
hmm
weight of
yeah,
the parents that's really the hard pill to swallow in that show. And so people might award him because of that, or it might be harder to connect with the same way that like, you know, Jessica Gunning for Baby Reindeer, like she was the more exciting, the more irreverent, the more like fascinating character, and the Richard Gadd one, which was in some regards the tougher role and the tougher role to sit through, it wasn't always coming up in some of these awards because he was losing to people like Colin Farrell. I think
hmm
Richard Gadd and Stephen Graham are very similar
oh
performers.
yeah, yeah,
So
and similar roles as well behind
yeah.
the scenes and in front of the camera. And yeah, I mean Stephen Graham is he when he's campaigning, right? Like he was at the producers roundtable for the Hollywood Reporter. I think that is what he is campaigning for more so than actor. But even then, that final scene of that show with him and Christine Tremarco is just some of the best acting I've seen this entire year. It's incredible stuff. I mean, the show ends with him, the camera on him. So he's great, but I do think it'll just be Farrell. And everyone else is happy to be here with Kevin Kline. For disclaimer, he's one of the better performances on that show. And I think he's Kevin Kline. He's respected. He hasn't been in stuff in a minute or like big stuff. So I think he'll probably get in. Cooper Koch, I think, is the more likely of the monster actors. I mean, similar to Adolescence, he has one episode that is like an interview of just the camera continually zooming in on his face. And I think that was a good acting showcase. Then Brian Terry Henry, I don't feel great about this for Dope Thief, but I think there's a lot of respect for him as an actor. It's a good role. I just don't know what else. Do you have him? What else would you go with in here? I mean, I would like to go with Jake Gyllenhaal for Presumed Innocent, just because I'm tempted by Presumed Innocent in all of these categories in this race this year. I just don't know if people remember it. That's my only issue. People watched it, but do they remember it?
But did enough people watch Dope Thief? Dope Thief?
Yeah, but it came out more recently, I guess, and he's campaigning, and Jake
Did
Gyllenhaal
you
is.
just say that coming out more recently, or was that in the comedy?
That was in the comedy race. Yeah.
I was like, we're doing these back to back. Time is blurring together.
Yeah.
No, you brought it up when it came to Sirens. That was this. That was 5 minutes
Oh
ago.
yeah. No, yeah, that was this. They do blur for sure, but yeah, yeah. I'm having
um,
my cake and eating it too, but yeah.
so anyway, I think Jake Gyllenhaal kind of staked the ground early. Again, a phrase that is close to something.
Sticks the ground early.
It's just he put his, he put his mark. So I probably would have him there, but I also don't
No,
think
I agree. I would do Jake Gyllenhaal.
everybody in
Actually.
there is not going at any award show after Causeway is not a surprise.
Yeah, because we'll see in the next categories. I do have presumed innocent getting some stuff. So,
Yeah.
but if I have it getting like multiple acting nominations, maybe I should have it in series. Who knows? Watch the space.
It's definitely the more popular show compared to Dope Thief.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I would probably have Jake Gyllenhaal and then that 5. But who knows? Maybe Kevin Kline misses and Brian Tyree Henry and Jake Gyllenhaal get in.
Yeah.
Definitely think Farrell, Graham, and Koch are in.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'd probably have Gyllenhaal too. Supporting actress. We were just talking about her, Ann Doherty for Adolescence with just one episode. She's probably going to win an Emmy, and she's incredible in it. I do also want to shout out right there at number 4, Christine Tremarco. It's also incredible in this show. In the 4th episode, incredible work. Both would be deserving, but I think, like you said, episode 3 is the episode people talk about when it comes to the show. She's just great in it, going back and forth between her and Owen Cooper. That's the acting episode of the show, it seems. So I think she's easily going to win. I don't really see the competition. O'Connell is great in The Penguin. She's one of the best parts. All the performances on that show, which is why it's going to win 2 acting Emmys, even against Juggernaut like Adolescence. The acting on the show is incredible. She's probably number 2. Jenny Slate is some of her better work, I would say, that I've seen in Dying for Sex. I don't think that's win competitive, though. 70, once again.
Better than her role in Zootopia?
For sure, yeah. Sorry, Celine Song. But yeah, Chloe 70, she's great in Monsters. Well, she has a smaller role than I would have. I don't. If it were a more competitive year, I don't think I'd have her in here. But Monsters is, like I keep saying, it's seen, which helps. And then Ruth Negga is so good in Presumed Innocent. She, if one scene in that final episode,
she's not good. Like it's
exactly
Ruth Negga's
passing. She
great.
should have won for that, but oh well.
Was she in supporting or lead for that?
She was campaigned in supporting, and she got every nomination besides Oscar.
That was the Ariana DeBose year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a walk for Aaron Doherty. It is so good, because I think listen, Owen Cooper is fantastic, but he's a kid, and I think a lot of people who know their acting know that what Aaron is doing is allowing him the space and really grounding that episode. And I look at her the same way I look at Frances McDormand in Nomadland, and that she is really being the pillar upon which that episode can flourish. And because to me, the most devastating part of that whole show is when he's taken out of that room and it just stays on her for a couple of minutes, and then she walks like that. To me, that's the show. And it's devastating work. It is brilliant. And she is one of the most deserving winners in this category in a very, very long time.
I mean, last year we had a great winner with Jessica Gunning. So
it's back to back, but
good trend.
Honestly, I think the two of them, it's ridiculous that we had those two in that. Like the fact that we had Baby Reindeer and Adolescence, whoever is greenlighting limited series at Netflix needs a raise.
Yeah, those British limited series. Yeah,
it's just absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. I mean, Beef too. That was the previous year before that, so they're great at their. Netflix is very good at getting a last minute breaker for limited series for sure. Last category, supporting actor. Speaking of, Owen Cooper is, I think. He was the talk of the show acting wise when it came out. It's very impressive work for an actor of his age. He's going to be the youngest winning actor in this category. And just look at the competition. Even if the competition were fierce, he would still win. The competition, this is a very weak category out of all the categories, besides him, in my opinion. Javier Bardem is good in Monsters. If Adolescence didn't exist, I guess he'd be winning an Emmy. Renzi Felice is good in The Penguin, but he's the least showy of the main 4 characters. Ashley Walters, great in Adolescence, but that's pretty much just a 1 episode performance. Rob Delaney, good in Dying for Sex, but once again, that's just a Show I don't think lots of people have seen. Peter Sarsgaard is incredible in Presumed Innocent. He's like amazing. He's a great actor in general, but that performance is awesome. So I have him getting in there as well.
Was Rob Delaney like disregarded before Deadpool 2? I feel like he's just more in the
It
conversation.
helped.
It helped. It's so funny to think of, like, I feel like we never talked about Rob Delaney until Deadpool 2, and now,
Yeah,
he'll pop up for these sort of things. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is Owen Cooper. It's one of the great child performers. He can stand alongside Jodie Foster and Henry Thomas. Congrats to him. And yeah, so
he's great
tell me
on
this:
that
you have
show.
Ruth Negga and you have Peter Sarsgaard,
But
but
then if I also have Jake Gyllenhaal, why do I not have it in limited series?
you've got to. I think you might want to reconsider that. But who
Yeah,
knows?
I
They
think I'll pick
could.
out Disclaimer maybe because
Yeah.
I don't have Disclaimer. I only have Disclaimer getting Blanchett and Klein
Really
is what I have
inclined.
getting. Yeah, yeah, 2 versus 3. It's close, but yeah, yeah. Congrats to Owen Cooper on the Emmy win. It'll be a very fun
Yeah.
speech to watch. But yeah, that is our Adolescence episode.
Um,
Movies are flopping, in my opinion, and television is killing it. There's no movie better than Andor or The Pit or Adolescence. All of those shows
well,
right now.
listen, I'm sure by the time we get to December, we'll have some
I
movies that
hope.
can join it.
I hope.
I mean, I loved Materialist, so I would definitely
Uh,
put that in.
I did
Sorry, no,
not.
you did not.
Not a
But I
bit.
loved Materialist. I loved Bring Her Back. Life of Chuck.
Ooh.
Movies have been starting.
We're gonna have different. If we did a middle of the year list, it would be very
It
different.
would be very different. But I feel
Not
like
a
I would
Life
be
of Chuck
happy
member.
with my list, and you would be like,
I would be upset.
I would
Yeah,
have one movie on that list.
I have Black Bag. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
what I
And
have.
I thought that was mixed. So
The
we're
very different. So if it
yeah.
continues so far this year, we'll have a very different final
But
list.
yeah, television is just really strong, and I think I it almost, as I said, I think in the comedy video. So if you haven't seen that, click one video over and watch that. But I think that showrunners and people in the television industry are really getting a handle on how to maneuver around the streaming behemoths and how to make their shows pop. And I think that's what's really exciting. I also think it's because they're really embracing what they're good at. They're embracing television. The Pit is brilliant because it's not trying to be an 8-hour movie. I'm not saying you can't do that. Stranger Things did very well approaching their show like that. And I have no doubts that I'll enjoy season 5, even if we're now going back to, no, we're a television show and we're going to look at this like a television show and not a long movie. Even
Mm-hmm.
Andor, to an extent, was doing those 3 episodes, was very
Arcs.
creative, but it was definitely like that was one night and this is another
Mm-hmm.
night. And, the nights don't all feel the same. The episodes don't all look the same. And so that's what I love that Adolescence and like shows like that, like are just continuing in every year, like Baby Reindeer and now Adolescence. Like we're snowballing into a new era of golden age of television, which is really exciting.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. So comment your guys' predictions down below. How different do they? Like I think lots of people have similar predictions, at least for winners in this category. What are your thoughts on Adolescence? All that stuff. Like the video, subscribe to stay tuned for continued Emmy coverage, Oscar stuff, festival stuff, all that. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.